What's up? Welcome back to That's Good Podcast, the That's Good Podcast. Let's be the.
It's a little late to add words.
But I'm not adding words. I'm just saying it's the That's Good Podcast.
The.
It feels what's the difference between using the and the? Like,
I don't know.
How do I know when to use which one?
I wish I knew what's the difference between who and whom.
I wish I knew. I don't really know. Who and whom. One's when it's the object, and one when it's the something else. And I only know that because of The Office, because of Toby. Toby.
That's good.
Anyway, welcome to That's Good Podcast, or the That's Good Podcast, or the That's Good Podcast. When I was teaching the other day, I used the for emphasis. It was like the gift instead of like the gift. Like when I was like, it's the gift. I felt like it was more for emphasis.
Yeah, the sounds like a title to me.
I agree.
But I also say we're going to the store.
Welcome to the That's Good Podcast.
Going to the store?
We went to the store. That's like the store of all stores.
Yeah, I guess if
on
you're
that?
saying it loud and slow, I say the so that nobody corrects me.
Yeah.
But if I'm just like casually like, we're going to the store, it's like the.
Yeah, it's a generic store, but the store is like a specific.
I'm going to the Walmart.
There's something called Google that I'm not going to use for this because I don't want to. Because also I don't know how to type in the difference between the and the.
How do you make it understand the difference between the and the?
Anyway, welcome back to the That's Good Podcast. I'm Dan.
I'm Shelby.
And we're sponsored by Chaos Student Ministries.
Woo!
Where disconnected and unfulfilled students go to find a full life in Jesus. Check them out on Wednesday nights at 6. Just kidding. I feel like we're sponsored.
That was pretty good. I
Thank
feel like
you.
we need
That
like
was
the
off
old
the
Navy
fly.
music in the background, like.
This Wednesday at Christchurch, Camden.
That's it. That's the one.
We need that voiceover thing from TikTok.
Yeah. And then like music for a sushi restaurant, the Harry Styles song in the background.
Anyway, how was your Thanksgiving, Shelby?
It was pretty phenomenal, I would say. There was green bean casserole, if
Did
you
you
know
sing
what I'm
the
saying.
song?
Actually, I told Colin, who was at Thanksgiving with
no.
me, to be my record for this because as we're sitting down for dinner, Lauren, the cousin who cooks the green bean casserole, said, "Sing the song, Shelby, sing the song." And I was like, Colin, remember this because nobody's going to believe me when I say that I was asked to sing the song at Thanksgiving.
Oh, it was requested. I thought that whole story was going to go into how you didn't sing the song.
Oh, I sang it. Not on my own will, though. It was asked for.
Was it a solo or like
Yeah,
a
it
duet?
was
I thought it was
solo.
duetted.
No, I mean, normally my other cousin sings along, but he was keeping his babies alive, so they've got kids now. Thanksgivings look different.
I've got 3 kids. I still find time to sing all the time.
Well, maybe we should just boot my cousin from the family.
I would just tell him to check his priorities and just rearrange some things in his
Yep.
life. Hey, my Thanksgiving was great. Thanks for asking, Shelby. I went all the way up to the great state of New York, and I just want you to know I can describe the weather in one word in New York, upstate New York. You ready? The word gray. That's just how it is. It's just gray. The first day up there was like 25 degrees out.
Ooh.
And I pulled my winter coat out of my closet, and it was all wrinkled because it's been sitting there because we live in the great state of Georgia, and we live in southeast Georgia.
Ooh.
And it's 75 and sunny today on November, whatever it is.
I believe it's the 29th.
Don't date the podcast. Trick them into thinking they're listening live. It's
Sorry,
whatever day
guys.
you're listening today.
That was
That's what
foolish
day
of
it
me.
is.
That is podcasting 101.
Just kidding. I really don't care. Anyway, it's great, and it's cold. It did get up to 50 one day, and we went on a walk on Thanksgiving, but even the wind just goes
You
through.
went on a walk in 50 degrees.
Yeah.
That's concerning.
50 degrees? You wouldn't go on a walk in 50 degrees?
No, not joyously.
Like, the only way you would go on a walk in 50-degree weather is at, like, gunpoint?
No, just like if I had to or like I was going stir crazy. But it's not like today I'd be like, oh, let's go walk the dog. It's a beautiful day. But like 50 degrees, I'm like, oh, I guess I should get up and do something.
But see, here's the difference there. If you don't go on a walk in 50 degrees and you live in New York, you won't go on a walk for, like, 10 months.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, I came, as soon as I got home, the day I drove home, which, by the way, I drove from Rochester, New York, which, if you don't know, is on like the west side of New York next to Lake Erie. And literally I drove like pretty much past Niagara Falls. and I waved to it as I drove by. I drove through snow in Buffalo because I don't know if you know, but Buffalo, New York got a boatload of snow. And then I drove in the same day from there, and I arrived home at 12:30 a.m. That day. It was a long drive, and I only got one speeding ticket, so that's good.
Wow.
The ratio of hours to speeding ticket, I think, is pretty good.
Don't quote that. Do not use that as a reason with your parents to excuse your speeding ticket.
That's
That is
true.
not
Don't-
scientific.
Anyway, when I got home, the next day it was like 70 and sunny. And I had this distinct thought in my head. I was like, it just took a week in New York for me to appreciate our amazing weather down here. Yeah, because it's trash up there. But Thanksgiving was good. I ate a lot of really good food. My brother-in-law makes this mac and cheese where he shreds like he had to, the day before, shred cheese for the sheer amount of cheeses and the amount of shredded cheese that he puts into the macaroni and cheese. He had to shred the cheese the day before.
That's powerful.
It's intense, and it was amazing.
I think the question we've all been considering is, did you throw up this Thanksgiving?
I did not. No stomach bug on this Thanksgiving. I felt pretty good, actually.
That's
I
phenomenal.
mean, I felt very full, and then I ate pie. It was one of those things where I ate pie. At the end of the night, I was like, man, my stomach is so full, I feel almost sick. I'm going to eat some pie. And then there was some leftover pumpkin pie, and Friday morning at like 8 a.m., I was like, you know what's going to be a good breakfast? Nice slice of pumpkin pie. But anyway, Thanksgiving is over. It's dead. Goodbye. The downside of me going to New York is I have no leftovers in my kitchen from Thanksgiving, so that's a bit of a bummer.
That's upsetting.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer, but that's okay. Anyway, it's on to Christmas time.
Woo!
And we're doing an awesome series here at Christchurch Camden called Christmas at the Movies. And I got to talk about A Christmas Story on Sunday. So here's what I wanted to do. I wanted us to play this or that, where you have to pick one.
Ooh.
Like a battle royale of Christmas movies.
This might cause an argument.
Okay. Like, do you have an initial, like, immediately, like, when you think of what's my favorite Christmas movie, do you have one that, like, comes straight to mind?
Yes, but I don't think you're going to appreciate it.
I don't think I will either, but I'd like to make fun of you for it. So go ahead.
All right. As a 21-year-old woman, it's The Holiday, starring Jude Law, Jack
Oh.
Black, and Cameron Diaz.
That's not where I
and,
thought that was going.
Kate Winslet.
Yeah, it's not, that movie's not bad.
I mean, it's like a rom-com Christmas movie. It's not like my favorite classic. My favorite classic is also, I know Dan hates this because we've discussed it before, Santa Claus 3.
Ugh.
That's
The
objectively
fact that you put the
best.
number 3 at the end
The
of that
third
is
is the
terrible. Terrible.
Mr. Jack Frost.
Oh my goodness.
I
What's
love
his name?
it.
Martin Short? Is that
Yep.
his name? Oh,
I eat it
my.
up every time.
I will admit to you though, I don't know that I've sat and watched that all the way through.
That's disappointing.
Okay, Christmas movies, this or that. You have to pick one, and then you can love both of them. Like there's some in here that I love both of them. Like I just don't love them equally. I will like my children. No, I'm just kidding. I love all of them. I love all of them equally. Hazel, Harper, Hudson, you guys are all great. Okay, here we go. We're gonna start off easy. So I also tried to put comparable movies next to each other. Like I wasn't gonna put like for me A Christmas Story, a movie that I grew up loving. I wasn't gonna put like A Christmas Story or Christmas with the Cranks. You know, like they're not comparable.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's too easy. So
I
I
like
tried to make it competitive.
You made
like
it equal.
my seeding was to make it competitive. Okay, here we go. Number 1, Home Alone or Elf?
Ooh, Elf.
Elf immediately.
Immediately.
I'm gonna go. I love Elf. I'm going Home Alone. I love Home Alone.
I did not grow up watching Home Alone. It's not like a staple in my house.
Oh,
And I had
no.
the Elf DVD, and I had a DVD player in my room in high school, and I watched Elf year-round every night. So
I mean, Elf is amazing. Like I love both those movies. They're top 5 Christmas movies, of course. But that's why I compete them. But I love Home Alone so much. And my favorite thing is, remember last year when Harper was 3, and she'd run around, and she could quote the line, "Why are you dressed like a chicken?" That was my favorite.
and
She's-
the other one, she had
there's-
another one.
Uh,
My family disappeared
Oh, yeah.
or something.
I made my family disappear. That's
She
what
was
Harper
really
would just
good at
walk
it.
around and make it. And she's basically Macaulay Culkin. And it was,
Well.
it was amazing. Okay, next one up. In my mind, Battle of the Sequels. And this is an easy choice for me. Home Alone 2 or the Santa Claus 2?
Does Home Alone 2 have the lady with the birds?
Yes, the crazy lady in the park with the birds.
Okay, I've seen.
Who he befriends and gives a dove to. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
I've seen at least a little bit. I'm gonna have to go with Home Alone 2, just because I cannot stand Santa Claus 2 with all the robot Santa Clauses. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, what is that movie? It's trash. I don't know how you go from the Santa Claus is amazing and classic to that heaping pile of garbage. This is the most lopsided one in my mind. It's an
Heaping
easy
pile of
Home Alone 2.
garbage.
Easy Home Alone 2. I mean, in my mind, Home Alone 1, amazing, iconic, incredible. I love it so much. Home Alone 2 is great. I don't think it's as good as the first one, but I still love it. I mean, if you think about it, it is basically the first movie. They were just like, let's put it in New York this time. That's literally the whole movie. But like, I love it. And then anything after Home Alone 2, doesn't exist in my mind. I have blotted it out.
Wow.
I want to ignore the existence of when Macaulay Culkin is not in it. I do not care.
How many more are there?
I don't even know. Well, there's a third one immediately that came out in like the early 2000s. That's just not good. And then there was another one that's like, I think like a straight to TV trash movie. And then they just remade one last year with a I didn't even really watch it. The girl, I think Hazel watched it, but it just looked terrible. It was
Hazel,
bad.
your taste is trash.
No, okay, yes, it is. But she's 7, so let it go. Okay, next one. I did the Battle of the Animation movies, and I tried to put the two: Polar Express or Klaus. Have you watched Klaus?
No.
Netflix Klaus?
No.
Oh!
I haven't.
So you can make your pick then. It's going to be easy. Because
Well, I might rest with the other one. I am not a Polar
you
Express
you
fan.
hate Polar Express
don't
so
hate
much.
it, but that movie
People,
is
I just want you to
way
hear.
too long.
Shelby hates Polar Express so much that she will pick a movie she's never seen.
I didn't say I hate it that much. That movie is just way too long. I can watch about half of it once a year, and that's all you got. But also, you got to understand, my brother, who's 2 years younger than me, that was his favorite as a kid. So I have to hate it. Like my childhood was rooted
You
in my
cannot
hatred.
agree with your younger brother.
Exactly.
Write it down, ladies.
It's true.
Actually, I'm going Klaus 2. That movie's amazing. It's really, really good. If you haven't seen Klaus, it's on Netflix. It's really good. It came out a couple years ago, 2 or 3 maybe. It's really, really good. It's a little bit different, but it's really, really good. And honestly, I don't mind Polar Express. I have nothing against Polar Express, but I'm not a kid who grew up being read Polar Express, the book. And my problem with Polar Express isn't that it's too long. It's the animation. They have dead eyes in those. Every character, the eyes
And the scene
creep
with the
me
puppets?
out. Holy smokes. The puppets, I can take the puppets, but the eyeballs of every single character in that movie terrify me.
I got to
They're
tell
just
y'all
dead.
a real quick story. I mean, it's like a 30-second story. I did not know there was a book for the Polar Express. I know that's probably stupid, but I didn't know there was a book. Sophomore year of college, me and my best friends are like, you know what? Let's name these kids. We're watching the movie, and we're like, these kids need names. None of them have names in the movie.
Well, that's true.
So
I never
we
even thought
named
about
them
that.
all. I posted on my little private story, and somebody swipes up and is like, dog, they have names. They literally have names. But one of the names we made up was actually the kid's real name.
Oh.
I remember we named the girl, we named her Rue, but the others I don't remember. So, anyways,
Let me
that's a
get you.
little fun
You just
story.
watched The Hunger Games, and you named her Rue.
No, I don't
'Cause she
think
looked
so.
like Rue?
Maybe subconsciously because like
Yeah, that's-
childhood
yes,
movies.
She
you
looks.
know?
She looks literally like the
She
animated
does.
version
Now
of
that
Rue.
you're saying that.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're not very creative. You just stole it. So
Hmm.
anyway, okay, next one. That one's easy. I'm going Klaus. I have nothing against Polar Express. I'll watch it with my kids, but yeah. Also, they don't really believe in Santa Claus, so it's fine. Yeah. Why would I give credit to an old white man who lives in the North Pole when I'm the one who got them the gifts?
The magic.
What magic?
The magic of Christmas.
I never really believed in
The
Santa,
magic
by
of
the way.
believing.
Did you believe in Santa when you were a kid?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I figured.
That sounds like a major insult. Mom, did you hear that?
I just meant I know your family, and I can say I'm just saying my parents did the thing where they never really said anything was from Santa. They never told me Santa wasn't real, but they never really said Santa's real and he's coming. So they just like let me believe, and so like from the get go, I was just like, this isn't true. And then I think my parents had to be like, yeah, don't go in and like
You can't
spoil
tell
it for
people
all your
that.
friends. Anyway, okay, here we go. This is another great one. 2 amazing movies: Christmas Vacation or The Grinch, Jim Carrey's version, like live action Grinch.
Ooh,
Christmas Vacation or The Grinch.
that's a hard choice.
I know. I tried to make them tough because, like I said, if it was like The Grinch or Polar Express, that's easy.
The Grinch carries like heavy nostalgia for me, so I'm probably gonna have to pick that. But
a good
ideally, in my perfect world, I wouldn't have to pick.
Well, sure. I'm not saying this Christmas you may only watch one. The other one's dead. Burn the DVD. Who watches DVDs anymore? You can't burn a streaming service anyway. I'm going Vacation. I love The Grinch. This is the closest one for me, I think. But like this one's super close. I just like there's a little bit more nostalgia to me because I'm older than you, and Christmas Vacation's older. So I think I've been watching that one a little bit longer than I've been watching The Grinch because it came out like 2000 or something. So I was like 10 when The Grinch came out. But dude, I love Jim Carrey is hilarious as The Grinch. It's amazing. But man, Christmas Vacation, I think that came out in the 80s. That movie is one of those movies that my family's watched enough times that every line is quotable, like with the exact inflection that like you just say it and then like my family laughs and knows what you're talking about. So Christmas Vacation, I love that one. Okay, here we go. Another animated one. I don't know if you've seen both of these, though. I have kids, so I've seen all these animated ones. There's the new Grinch, the Benedict Cumberbatch one. Have you seen that one?
Where he's a cartoon?
Yeah, well, that's
I
what,
haven't seen
that's
it,
what
but
animated means.
Sorry, when you said Benedict Cumberbatch, it threw me
Benedict
off.
Cumberbatch is the
I
Grinch.
didn't
Have you
know
watched
that
that
was
one?
him. No, I haven't seen it.
Okay. Oh, boy. All right. Well, then this is. And then have you seen the one called Arthur Christmas?
No.
Okay, well, they're both average. Anyway, on to the next one. How about these like old school ones? Tim Allen, Christmas with the Cranks. Have you seen that movie?
Mm-hmm.
And then have you ever seen Jingle All the Way? Arnold Schwarzenegger, 90s movie,
Never even heard
where he has
of
to
that.
get the turbo doll. You never seen that one?
No, I've never even heard of that.
You never even heard of Jingle All the Way?
No.
Oh my goodness. I'm doing a podcast with a 21-year-old. All right, Jingle All the Way. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger is a dad and he works too much. And he's supposed to, there's the most popular toy in the town ever for his kid is a Turbo Man doll who's like an action figure. He's like a superhero. Turbo Man. You never.
Turbo Man.
Oh, gosh, Arnold
Wait,
Schwarzenegger.
my dad sometimes says Turbo.
Yeah, he's probably from Arnold Schwarzenegger going, Turbo Man. That's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's a bad Arnold
Yeah, that's my
Schwarzenegger.
dad.
But like, anyway, it's all about he procrastinates too long and all the Turbo Man dolls are gone. So then Arnold Schwarzenegger, the whole movie is him trying to get a Turbo Man doll for his kid because he procrastinated.
Wow.
Anyway,
Sounds lame.
they're both C movies. They're both very average, but you'd pick Christmas with Cranks. All right, here we go. I'm going to go battle of the rom-coms here, but you already mentioned your favorite one. So the next one in my mind would be The Holiday versus While You Were Sleeping.
Definitely The Holiday. To me, The Holiday is the perfect, like, Christmas rom-com. There is, like, the funny, there's the sentimental, there's the heartbreak, there's the, like, are they going to make it? I think it's beautiful. What Cameron Diaz overcomes in that
I
movie.
think it's beautiful.
It is. It's, like, perfect to me.
Shelby's in tears. They're just welling up in.
There's no one
Here's
funnier
the
than
thing,
Jack
I love
Black.
While You Were Sleeping. Again, though, it's another 90s movie. It's got Sandra Bullock, in case you never seen it. It's from the 90s. You should watch it. It's good. Sometimes people are like, oh, this great movie from the 80s, and like, trash, and I want to watch no old movie. But this one's actually pretty good. But it's like another one of those where we just quote it all the time as my family. So it's like, and The Holiday's not bad. I've seen it once or twice, but like, I don't know. All right, old school ones. It's a Wonderful Life versus White Christmas.
I've only seen It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, I'm going It's a Wonderful Life easy. I just don't like White Christmas. It's so long. I feel like whenever that movie's on TV and like I'd be home at my parents' house growing up and we'd have cable and I'd turn it on and be like, oh, you know when you hit the guide button it shows like how long the movie's going to last?
Yeah.
I feel like I would hit the guide button and White Christmas would be like 4 hours long. And I'm like, why?
keep
Why?
scrolling to
I don't
the
want to
right.
watch this. Like it's, anyway.
What's going to come on after?
Yeah, I don't like it. Anyway, sorry. It's a Wonderful Life for sure. It's also filmed in upstate New York. So,
Ooh.
and how great it is in that movie, that's how great it is in real life.
Wow, maybe we
Just
should.
kidding. That movie's in black and white, in case you don't know. So that was my joke.
That was actually funny if you got it, which I didn't.
I was going to say, you clearly did not get it until I told you. That's okay. All right. Anyway, that's Christmas movie. Oh, wait. I had one more. Where did I put it? Okay. The Battle of the Trash. Ready? Would you rather watch Santa Claus 3? Or would you rather watch those trash claymation movies?
Shut up right now. You're just pooping all over my childhood, and I hate you for it. I love the claymation
That
movies.
was my question was going to be, do you watch those claymation movies?
I'm Mr.
Oh,
Heat
gosh.
Miser.
I Mr. Snow.
I
hate
love
those
those.
movies. I hate them. I never watched them growing up. They came out when I was young. I never watched them growing up. It was never something we did. I think they're so boring and so weird and so like torture to watch those.
This is your
stupid
PSA
Raindolph
that Daniel
ones.
Dodd has no taste, and you should never trust what he says about music or shows, ever.
false.
He listens to 21 Pilots, but we'll talk about it in another episode.
Okay, 21 Pilots is fantastic.
Anyway,
Shelby's just been scorned by 21 Pilots.
and Ohio.
I want all my listeners to shout out to if you like 21 Pilots because they're amazing and I love them. Anyway, they're potentially they're my favorite band.
If I get a single text from
You can tell
any
I
of
was
you,
debating because of how high my voice got. Are they my favorite band? That's me. That's my unsure voice. If I ever answer you like, it means I don't know. Anyway, 21 Pilots is amazing. Those claymation movies are trash. Is there like an obscure Christmas movie you love?
oh gosh,
I googled Christmas movies. There's so many. Like for instance, we didn't talk about like Christmas Chronicles on Netflix. I never watched that.
I watched that with my mom. It wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't good.
I love Christmas movies, but I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, gosh.
There's a couple coming out this year I want to watch, like the new Christmas Story one, and then one with Ryan Reynolds. I'll watch whatever has Ryan Reynolds in it.
Yeah, I watched the one with Ryan Reynolds. Definitely like PG-13, but it was pretty funny.
I'll watch it. And the last movie question I have ready is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Never seen it. I have no opinion in this. If you're not watching the YouTube right now, Dan is throwing a fit, a silent fit.
I just, like, what are your parents doing with their lives, you know? Like,
we're watching
I'm
claymation
just
movies and doing wholesome
I say that
things.
as if, like, your parents should be like, hey, Shelby, let's sit down as a kid and watch Die Hard. This movie's about John McClane killing Germans. Like, that's
Yeah,
literally
that
what
doesn't
it's-
sound
yeah.
very Christmassy
Hans
to me.
Gruber, yeah. Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman, rest in peace.
Yeah, he's Hans Gruber. He plays the bad guy. Anyway, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. It happens on Christmas Eve in Nakatomi Plaza, where John McClane is a police officer, and he goes to visit his wife, who lives in L.A., and he beats all the bad guys, and he wins.
You have to say the word beat. It doesn't
I don't
sound
want to
very
say
Christmassy.
kill. That doesn't.
Kill.
You know, yeah, murder. No, it's not murder. He's a
Muck
good guy.
duck.
The word R is one of the menacing of sounds. Yeah, I don't know. Die Hard's amazing, and I'm ashamed of you. So,
Wow.
it's taking
Really
me a
glad
minute.
all
I'm
of
not
our
going to end the
work
podcast, though. That's fine. Anyway, Christmas movies. I love Christmas movies. I'm going to watch some today, probably. Why not?
Wow. All right, I've got a kind of lame story for you guys. I feel like you guys need to know. Do y'all know that story? Not the story. Do y'all know that movie? I don't even remember what it's
I
called.
don't know the story you're going to tell. So.
But it's a cartoon, and all of these like fairy tale holiday characters come together and like save Christmas. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is Mickey Mouse in it?
No. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Wait.
Just remember that like Jack Frost is a character. Oh, Rise of the Guardians.
I know like the movie poster, but I've never seen that.
All right, well, that movie came out, and I reconnected with a childhood friend, and we decided we were going to go on ourselves a little date. The problem is, he lives in Savannah, I live here, and we're like 13 or 14. But our parents were friends from like their 20s or something, and so we're like, you know what? Let's get together. I'm like, Jack, let's meet in Jessup and go to the drive-in movie and see this lame cartoon. And it was terrible. If you like that Christmas movie, I'm highly concerned for you. I remember thinking, this is awful and awkward. And
Even at 13? But are you sure it wasn't awkward because of the date? And not
it
the
was.
movie?
It was. I'm just saying
Could this
overall,
potentially be one of those things where the movie was ruined by the situation you're in?
like 21 Pilots.
Yeah.
Mm.
Where really it's a great movie.
I don't
but
know.
You just made up your mind. You'll be like Michelle. Michelle will just make up her mind that she hates something, and I'll be like, why? And she'll be like, because of this one little thing. And I'll be like, that's not a good reason
That's
to dislike
femininity.
something.
Sorry,
That's
you can't
sexist.
understand it. Anyway, so I just thought that was
Wow.
kind of a funny story since we've
Misogynist
been
of
talking about stories this month. I thought maybe you guys would appreciate a little glimpse into my dating past.
We love a good story. We love a good story at Chaos, and that's why we spent our whole month on a series called Family Matters, where we're talking about we're just talking about people's stories, hearing people's stories, and then talking about, man, if God can do that in their life, what can He do in mine? Which is pretty cool. And so it's been really, really cool. We got to hear from Christian. We got to hear from Shelby. And this week we got to hear from Harry and his awesome story. That dude is awesome. I love Harry.
He really is so great.
So much. If you don't know Harry Williams, you're missing out on life.
Yeah.
He's awesome. And I think it's just because stories are just this powerful thing that just stick with us. And I think like that's kind of how we're wired as human beings, which I mean, if you look at like all of history and if you look at the Bible, it's like we're passing these stories down. It's not just history. We're just passing them down because they're impactful. I mean, I can think of a story immediately from someone's specific story that like stuck in my brain. I remember I was a senior in high school, and we went on a mission trip to Costa Rica, and I was like chilling and vibing in Costa Rica. And it's one of those mission trips where you're kind of like, I don't know how much we're actually helping here. But we went, and
This is just a
you know, maybe
vacation.
I don't know, maybe someone was affected for Jesus, but we spent a whole afternoon painting a chain link fence.
Ooh. Why?
I think they didn't know what to do with us. I think they were like, we have these bunch of kids and we don't know what to do with them, so have them paint a fence. It's like, oh, cool. Is it like a wood picket fence? It's like, no, it's chain link. It's just a metal fence.
We have you guys doing that at camp. Don't ask questions.
Yeah, no, it's for the Lord. Anyway, there's a guy named Wayne Morgan who came with us on the trip. He graduated from my high school. He's like 10 years older than I am, but he graduated from my high school. He was good friends with my teacher who like went with us, and so he came with us to like help and be there. You got all day and you do stuff, and then you come back and you like sit in your wherever you're staying. We were in some random like housing thing. I don't even know. But Wayne was like leading something and just talking. He was just sharing kind of his story about like his life. And at one point he had cancer and he like beat cancer and like, and he's only like 40. So he had it when he was pretty young, and how his wife and his kids and like, he was doing student ministry at the time. I can't remember if he was like a student pastor or if he was just, now he works for this big thing like National Network of Youth Ministries, where he goes around everywhere and talks to student ministry and stuff. But I have a distinct memory of like, I'm listening to his story about his life and growing up, and about his wife, and now about his kids, and now about what he gets to do in student ministry. And I have a distinct, and like at one point he was playing guitar. He's just a cool dude, and he played basketball. And I remember like sitting there listening to him going like, I want to be like Wayne. Like I remember thinking that like, I want to be like Wayne Morgan. Like when I'm his age, like this is the kind of person I want to be. I want to be able to stand in front of students, and I want to be able to share a story like this of like my life and my, hopefully at this point I hadn't even met Michelle. So like, maybe I'll have a wife, or I'll have kids, or I'll have this ministry. But I just distinctly remember his story, and I remember sitting there going, that's what I want to do. Like that's the kind of person I want to be. And
wait, are you?
I'm not Wayne Morgan. I wouldn't put myself on his level. But again, God has led me to my wife and my kids, and I get to do student ministry. And so now I get to stand in front of students and kind of share a story like that. And it's just really cool to look back and go, I can distinctly remember his story just like stuck with me. I wouldn't say that Wayne's story is like the reason I'm a student pastor. Like, I don't know that it's that powerful. Like it wasn't like, I was going to be a drug addict, but then I heard Wayne's story and I changed my mind to be like, student pastor sounds better. That's not quite what it is. It's maybe not that drastic, but it's like a story that just like stuck in my brain, and has definitely played a part in what I did when I went to school and what I did after school. And so just, I don't know, stories are powerful and like, just stick with us. And so that's why we wanted to spend our whole month just talking about stories. I mean, we have stories in the Bible, obviously, all over the place. There's a lot of different genres in the Bible. I don't know if you know that. But there's like poetry, and there's like history, and there's like narrative is one too. A narrative is what we would call like a story. And there's a lot of narrative in the Bible, right? Of like stories of people and what actually happened and things like that, because that's powerful for us. And I think we talked about this too with Family Matters, that like chaos is a family, because God adopts us into his family when we follow Jesus. And so like chaos, like we're in this together. So, I mean, I just want to ask, like, what, do you have, like, I guess, Shelby, because you've been part of Chaos for a while, so I guess you've been part of the Chaos family for, like, a lot longer than me, because I'm 2 years, 2 hours. I've been part of Chaos for 2 whole hours.
You got here, we threw him on the podcast.
2 years. 2 years. Is there, like, I don't know, like, what does it mean to you, like, to be a part of the family, like, the Chaos family, I guess, over the past however many years?
I feel like that's like a way loaded question. I wasn't prepared for that.
It is a bit of a loaded question, and I just thought of it.
I don't know. Makes me kind of like think about the other week. I was going out to eat with somebody, and I was like, I'm not going to talk about church. They don't want to hear about it. Like, not in a negative way. It was just like, talk about something else. And then I was like, what the heck would I talk about? Because like, I identify so heavily with like the church and the community here, if that makes sense. And like, not in a negative way that like there's nothing else going on in my life or I have no other personality, but like I feel like I've been here for so long, and I've literally like grown up here for so long that there's just no me without talking about the church. Do you know what I mean? Like a couple months ago when we were kicking off the Ford campaign, we had some dinners, and everybody had to go around and kind of like share what their like I can't even like think the right words.
Defining moment?
Yes.
Is that what we called it?
Yes.
Yeah. One shining moment. No, okay. March Madness? Nobody? Okay. Sorry, continue.
Anyways,
sorry, keep going.
I was the only person who didn't get the email that we were going to have to all say something. So I'm like 4 days away from starting my job. I'm not even like officially working here yet. And so they're like all passing around the microphones and stuff. And I started talking, and I don't know, I said something like, you guys have all shaped me and stuff like that. And like some of the people in that room have known me for like almost 12 years now, long time. And then afterwards I was kind of sitting back and I was like, man, I wish I could add, like, I feel like not only like have y'all been there and raised me, but your kids have been. I remember Lacey and Chris Gwines were there. I don't know if it's like personal information. I don't feel like it is. Lacey and Chris were there, and I was just thinking about them
just
specifically.
Don't give their address and you'll be fine.
And
they live at 122.
this super cool kid of theirs is Oliver. If you guys know Oliver at the
Oliver's
middle
the
school boys'
man.
house,
Shout out to Oliver.
he's awesome. And I was just kind of thinking about like him specifically and Emily Kolb. And as like such a young kid, I feel like I was given so many opportunities, like especially in the elementary room, getting to teach little classes in small groups. And then, you know, when we had Swell a couple years ago, doing like devotions with them and stuff. And like you guys like raised me as a teenager, but then now like we still have that relationship where like you guys are still building me up as a leader and teaching me new things about like my faith and what it means to belong here and what it looks like to, you know, lead other people through similar experiences that you've walked through. So I would say it's a little traumatic, but I don't know, being a part of the family here is kind of like everything to me. It's one of the most valuable things that I've ever experienced, and that sounds cheesy, but I mean that.
I love it. Yeah, I think being a family just means we're in it together. Like nobody's on their own. And I think that's what you're just describing, right? And we say it even to like volunteers. So like if you're a student listening, like we tell this to your small group leaders that like, hey, like yeah, sometimes you may not feel like you're like we have people who are like, I don't know that I'm qualified for this, right? Like I don't know every verse in the Bible. I didn't go to Bible college. I don't have a master's degree or whatever, like, you know, and they feel like we'll get people who are like, I don't know that I can be a small group leader. And it's like, no, here's the thing, like you're going to grow and learn as you go because we're a family and that's what happens. So like you may be a student and part of Chaos Student Ministries and like in a small group and like, yeah, you're going to hopefully learn a lot from your small group leader and like the insight they have because they're older than you. They've done more life than you. They've probably been walking with Jesus longer than you. They might know more about the Bible than you. They probably do. But like, no hate to you as a student, but they just have more time. So like, yeah, you'll learn from them. But at the same time, like being a part of a family means even though you're a student and they're a leader, like they're going to learn and grow from you as well. Like it's just a mutual thing. And so I think that's awesome. And so like your small group leader may not have the answer all the time, right? And so we tell our small group leaders, if you don't know the answer, just look at a kid and go, you know what, I don't know. But that's not where we stop. We say, you know what, I'm not sure. Let's find out together. And I think that's what being a family means. That like we're in this together. We're there for each other, not just to encourage each other or like support each other, but to learn together and grow together. And then I think that's why we did this because like family stories matter, right? Like stories are important and impactful. And then when you tie a story to something as close as like your family, it makes a huge difference. So like I will always remember this story. My grandpa, so my dad's dad, who passed away when I was like 5, was incredible. And he wasn't like a pastor technically or on staff at a church, but like actually went to Bible college. So by the way, I think he worked at like a dairy plant.
Oh.
Yeah. And like, but also just was like, I'm going to go to Bible college. And I was like, okay, my man, like
Yeah,
get after it, grandpa. And then my grandma, I remember my grandma used to always tell me like that she would help him learn. So basically my grandma was learning all the same stuff my grandpa was learning in Bible college. But like my grandpa would basically like just grab random people off the street and be like, hey, are you homeless? Hey, do you need are you wow, my mind just blanked. What's it? Where you hold your thumb out in the sun. Hitchhike, thank you. The only word I could think of was hijack. I'm like, they're not hijacking anything. They're hitchhiking.
You hijacker.
He would pick up like hitchhikers and just like bring them home for dinner. And there's one story my grandpa would tell. I have it in my iTunes. It's actually pretty cool. I have a recording of my grandpa. Man, it must have been like, I'm going to guess in the 80s probably when he did this. And he's teaching at a church and there's a recording of him sharing his testimony, his story. And there's just a really cool story about him and like in World War II and about how like he finished his watch shift, I think, and like he had an option where he could like go to bed because he was exhausted. He'd been on like for a bunch of hours in a row, or he could like take a shower. And my grandpa, being like the clean freak that he was like, man, I'm not going to bed without taking a shower. And when he was showering, like the bunks got bombed and like he fell off a boat and just like was found in the water, and he was pulled out of the water and like only had a towel because he was coming out of the shower, and so like everything was going crazy and he's just in a towel. He tells this crazy story anyway, but like those stories from my grandpa, because he's my family, because he's my grandpa, the stories are impactful to start, but because he's my grandpa, like they just stick with me way more. And so that's what we want as Chaos. Like we are a family who's just trying to follow and grow in Jesus together and help the people around us learn about that life and about how like what a full life really means, which is one following Jesus. So like that's why we want our family to like share their stories, and I think that's really, really important. And I think it's been a really, really cool month. I mean, I got to be there when we shot all the stories, right? So I thought it was really cool hearing Christian's story, and And I feel like we got a cool like dynamic of stories, right? Like Christian's like mid-20s guy, so we got to hear his story. We got Shelby's story, who's like, younger, 21, as we talked about, hasn't seen old movies. That's fine. By old movies, I mean the 90s. That's fine. But Shelby's story, which is cool. And then we got to hear Harry's story. And Harry's slightly older than us, a little bit. But Harry has more life lived. And it was just really, really cool to hear Harry's story, too, of someone who's just lived a whole lot more life than we have. I'm not a whole lot. Some more life than we have.
Just a tiny bit.
Harry's a man. He's young at heart, which is amazing. Harry might have more energy than I do, I think.
He definitely has way more energy than me. I just combined he and Harry. Sorry, guys.
Harry has more energy than us. No, Harry's a man. I just think it was really, really cool to hear like different perspectives and different stories. And all those stories ended literally the same exact way. Like every story ended, and we didn't. Just so you know, if you're a chaos student and you're like, weird, they all came to the same conclusion. I didn't like coach him. I was like, okay, you're going to finish your story by saying these exact words. I did not. But every story ended with this idea that like, man, right now I've decided that God's design and way for my life is what's best. And walking with Jesus is what is best for my life as a whole. Doesn't mean everything's going to go perfect. Doesn't mean everything's going to be amazing. I'm going to get everything I want. But it means I will live my best life. Every story, Christian's life was, hey, I chased some stuff, it stunk, it left me empty, and I'm following Jesus, and I am full. Your story was, hey, I had a moment in my life where I kind of like let people change me a little bit and let people direct my life a little bit, and I felt empty. Now I'm following Jesus, and I feel full. Harry's life was, man, I trusted Jesus. I didn't do anything with it for a long time. I just kind of was like, he was in the back burner and just part of my life, and I felt empty and hollow, and I decided one day, man, I'm going to actively follow Jesus and use my story to follow Jesus and then tell others and like live that way. And guess what? I feel full and I have joy, like real joy versus just like happiness in a moment that fades quickly. And like, that's how every story ends. And so I hope that we just like take away, like it's hard to believe because sometimes we just really, really, really believe how we feel over what God says. And it's funny when we back it up and we think about, okay, the God who made us and knows us and made the world around us knows better how it works than we do. Like that should be easy, but it's hard to believe that. And so like we just hope that students at a younger age than some of us like really buy into the fact that, man, if I actually walk with Jesus, if I actually decide that, hey, I'm going to trust God, the creator, savior, sustainer of the universe, that he actually knows what he's talking about, and I'm going to walk that out, life is full. And like that's where we actually flourish as a human being. And that's when our story has a whole lot less, I don't want to say struggle, because we struggle with even as we walk with Jesus, right? Like life's not perfect and it's still hard. I think Harry in his story was like, life's gonna suck, and I was like, well, that's true.
Something like that in there.
But like, so I don't want to say easy, but it's just that's when life will be. We will walk away with a whole lot less hurt from decisions we've made, thinking that we know better. So stories are important, and here's one thing we wanted every student to know, no matter like where they were, as we listen to Christian's story and Shelby's story and Harry's story, and that's that your story matters. You're part of the Chaos family, your story matters, but even if you're not part of the Chaos family, like your story matters because you're a human being who's made in the image of God, who's loved by God, and your life matters. And you may feel like you're in some part of your story where you're like, this part of my story sucks. And like, that's true. We have parts of our story that are not fun. And they're not ideal. And just because we follow Jesus doesn't mean those moments disappear. But what it means is in those moments, like Harry said, we're not alone. We're walking through it with God. So if you're at Chaos, if you're a Chaos student, I want you to know, just because you're in our area, obviously I'm going to be specific, your story matters. And if you're part of Chaos and you're following Jesus, your story can change and affect someone else's life. Sometimes we think to ourselves, like, I'm a kid who grew up in church with a pastor dad, and I'm like, man, my story's really boring. Like, there's no, like, I wasn't, like, in jail, and then, like, some people have those stories where, like, this is the craziest story in the world, where they're like, anyway, I was in the Amazon, and I was smuggling drugs, and then the Lord, I saw the light in the sky, and you're like, oh, my word, the story's amazing. And I'm like, I just got saved in Sunday school when I was, like, 6. I prayed,
Jesus when I was, like 5.
And that's the thing, like, there is no boring story when it comes to Jesus rescuing us, right? Like, there's no boring story when it comes to, like, God at work in our lives. And so I hope every student here knows, like, 1, your story's not boring, and 2, your story matters. So I'd probably
good.
I'd probably reverse those. 1, your story matters, and 2, your story is not boring, and 3, God can use your story to change someone else's story.
That's good.
Thank you. I don't like that I had to cue you on that one, but
Well, I said it once, and you just
You
wanted your
did.
thoughts to
I
be
guess
wrapped
I
up with a
just-
bow.
Here's the thing. It's one of those things where sometimes when I'm writing my message, I write it down. I go, whoa, reverse that. And so that's time I said it out loud. I went, no, reverse that. It makes more sense the other way. It makes more sense that your story matters. Your story's not boring, and that your story can change someone else's story. So we hope this whole Family Matters thing, we hope you've learned from other stories in our family. We hope that you feel like you're part of the family, and we hope you understand your story matters, and God can use your story to change someone else's story. So
Yeah, that's some good stuff right there.
I said the word story a lot.
Story. Story.
You ever feel weird when you say a word more than one time in a sentence?
Yeah, that was me the whole time I was taping that video.
Like, that is so weird that I did that.
Yeah.
You ever say a word so many times it kind of loses, like, it doesn't sound like a word anymore?
Grocery.
Grocery. You really put an SH sound on that C. Grocery.
Ooh.
Ugh. Grocery. How do I say it? You ever do that? Does someone ever ask you how do you pronounce that word? And you're like, and then they say it both ways, and you go, I really don't know.
For me, it's grocery and Rory. When I think about
Rory?
those sounds,
Like the name?
when I think about those sounds coming out of me,
Rory.
Rory. Ugh, I hate it. I hate it.
Grocery. The grocery.
Grocery.
The
Grocery.
groceries. The groceries. I don't know how I say it.
How do
I
you say it?
The grocery. If I'm gonna go to this, I just say store. I don't say the word grocery. I don't think I'd say grocery.
I don't either because I hate the way it sounds.
Sometimes I spell a word on my. Do you ever hit all caps and type a word out and go, that's not right?
Yes, all the
Why
time.
do things look weird in all caps?
I don't know.
Scientists, please do a study on this.
Psychologist, where are you?
Anyway, we've rambled long enough. We hope you enjoy the That's Good podcast.
The That's Good podcast.
Thanks for listening. We're pumped to have you, and hopefully we see you at Chaos, whatever the next Wednesday is.
Woo.
Come hang out with us. It's Christmas time at Chaos.
This has been Shelby Smiley and Daniel Dodd, and this was the That's Good podcast.
The That's Good podcast.